Have you wondered why Microsoft is actually calling these devices also mixed reality and not just the HoloLens mixed reality or the HoloLens AR and these devices VR? Well, watch this video. I'm going to explain why it actually makes sense using the terminology also beyond just using it as a product name for a Windows feature.
Hey, welcome. My name is René Schulte. I'm Director of Global Innovation at Valorem. And I've been working with virtual reality and augmented reality since many years, probably more than 10 years ago, when we had VR experience like a power wall or a cave and those kind of very expensive setups. And I've been also working with the AR toolkit and actually made a port for Silverlight back in the days, if you can remember that. So that was pretty cool. And so what I'm trying to say is I've been involved with the industry much before this new hype or this new boom of AR and VR we have these days. And we have been also part of the mixed reality partner program and have been working with the HoloLens, for example, since 2015 and developed a bunch of applications. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP for Windows development. If you're not familiar with that, it's an award that Microsoft gives out to independent experts. So just to be clear, I'm not getting paid by Microsoft. And also the opinions and the views and the vision and so on I share in this video are only my own, right? So that's not related to my company and not related to Microsoft, just to be clear, right? But I thought I have enough knowledge and I wanted to share that with you today, what I think about the mixed reality spectrum and the mixed reality terminology, because it's being a bit confused at the moment. And I see that some people use it in such a way, the other folks use it in that way. And I actually think Microsoft nailed it and they made a very good terminology. And I was not a huge fan myself when they announced those immersive devices and called them mixed reality as well, because, you know, they are VR devices, you would say. But let me explain that a bit, why it actually makes sense to call them mixed reality as well. So if you can see the slide here, this is the mixed reality spectrum. And I took that from the Microsoft documentation about mixed reality. But in fact, Microsoft didn't just come up with that out of thin air. The mixed reality spectrum is actually based on a scientific paper released more than 20 years ago by Milgram and Cucino, which defines the virtual reality continuum. So also the mixed reality continuum or spectrum, if you will. And that defines basically a spectrum and two sides of that. So on the one side, you have the augmented reality side of things. And then on the right side, you have the virtual reality side of things, which are more like a digital reality. So you're fully immersed into a virtual solution. You're fully immersed into a virtual world and don't realize you're actually outside real world around you, right? On the other side, you have augmented reality and have, you know, a view of your real world, which is augmented with virtual objects. So let's take a look into some of the devices we have on the market today. So if you look at mobile phones, and for example, here's my Samsung Galaxy S8, where I wrote a little ARKore app. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there are some virtual cubes here on my table, and I can also shoot them and stuff. And this is a mobile phone AR augmented reality experience, right? And this experience allows me to place virtual objects on top of the real world view. But what is my real world view in that case? Well, my real world view is the camera stream that comes from the camera, which is also using a monoscopic camera, right? So it's not a stereoscopic view. Like humans, we have two eyes, we see stereoscopically. So that's really a mobile phone experience. And that's something we have been doing since, well, 10 to 20 years. And with ARCore and ARKit, of course, it's a nice time because it will be tightly integrated into the operating system of the two biggest mobile phone operating systems on the market. And that's exciting. But in terms of technology, well, it's stuff, or in terms of user experience, to be clear, it's stuff we have been doing for more than a decade. And I call it classic AR, right? The future for me will be head-mounted devices or even further, right? Maybe we have contact lenses at some point later on. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you about is the mixed reality spectrum, and the HoloLens device, for example, spans more the physical reality spectrum, right? It's augmenting your real world view with tiny objects or not just tiny objects. Actually, we can also have a very immersive solution. We can have a solution that actually transforms your room, because the device, the HoloLens, can do the inside-out tracking, so it can track itself in the room, but it also has a depth camera, which can measure the distance to your real-world objects and therefore reconstruct your real world inside the virtual world. This allows us to actually transform your real world into a different scenery. And this is being used very well by games for the HoloLens like Fragments or Roboraid. They actually transform the room you're in into a different scene. Fragments, for example, is a crime scene game. So you're a detective and then your room transforms into a crime scene or into a meeting room with your colleagues, with other detectives, which are sitting then in your real world chair. So very immersive, actually, right? So that's why, if you see the slide here, we spend quite a bit of the spectrum with the HoloLens. So it goes, of course, from the AR quite a bit into the middle, where we have a nice view and a very immersive solution. So now then we have also those occluded or immersive mixed reality devices, which some might call virtual reality, because with those I don't have a real world view, right? So it's more on the digital reality side of the spectrum. So when I put that on, well, I don't see anything anymore. I see my virtual world, of course, right? And it turns on also my mixed reality portal here on my computer. So that was fun. But anyway, what I wanted to tell you is really, this thing is, of course, you would say a VR experience, right? Makes sense. But let's think about the inside-out tracking. So Microsoft took the inside-out tracking technology with the sensors, but actually the magic pieces and the software and the algorithms, they took that and licensed it out to OEMs. And have that actually integrated, the algorithms integrated into Windows with the mixed reality portal, or with the mixed reality kind of functionality in Windows 10 with the Fall Creators update. So this technology was licensed out to other vendors, and they are able to produce devices that can also track themselves in the room, right? So the device has some kind of understanding of your room you're in, of your real physical world. So they spend just a tiny bit of the immersive spectrum, of the mixed reality spectrum moving to the middle, but not as far as, you won't see a real world outside of that. So that's why it actually makes sense to call them mixed reality, right? They have a sense of the real world understanding. And here are some examples, some different applications. So you can see some existing ones, also the ones I mentioned, like Fragments or Roboraid and so on. But still, I was still wondering, well, just call them VR. The industry is using VR, right? So just call those guys VR devices. But in fact, think a bit more about that. And when I thought a bit more about it, what I saw is a vision. And the vision I can see here is establishing an ecosystem, but also establishing a kind of user experience and a mindset. Because what I can see in maybe 5 years, maybe less, maybe more, we will see, is a device that can span the whole spectrum. So you might have a device where you can see your augmented reality view. Augmented reality view. You can see still the real world, but why not have a mode where it like darkens like the visor and you're fully shut off from the real world and all fully immersed into your virtual world, right? It's still a bit out, but I'm pretty sure that will happen, that, all those devices will merge into one device. Of course, it will probably be a mobile one. And that's the vision I can see here behind also defining that terminology and using that. And like I said, it's not just made out of thin air. It's actually based on a scientific paper, the Mixed Reality Continuum. All right, let's take a bit more look into the Windows Mixed Reality immersive devices, because it's quite exciting actually what Microsoft released here to the public, because those devices also can run SteamVR applications. So if you're not familiar with that, SteamVR is a kind of a marketplace, a platform where developers can release their virtual reality experiences that they have been building. And most of the HTC Vive and Oculus Rift experience are available through SteamVR. And you know what? They can also run now on those devices with the Windows Mixed Reality runtime. And that's pretty exciting, because the other day I was trying out the Google Earth VR experience. And I have been trying that out on the HTC Vive like probably a month or two ago. And it was amazing. It's one of the best VR experiences I've ever used. It's really, really good. And so I tried it out. I was curious, how does it actually run on those Windows mixed reality devices, well, it runs amazingly well. I also have the motion controllers here, so you can use the motion controllers just like you would use them on HTC Vive, and it's an amazing experience. So that's super brilliant, because having SteamVR integration is solving the content problem, if you will, right? Because those devices are worth nothing if you don't have content, but having SteamVR content, well, that's amazing. And then we have the tight operating system integration inside of Windows with mixed reality, with the mixed reality runtime. So that's huge, because Microsoft owns Windows, so having that tightly integrated is a huge leap forward into establishing and manifesting the whole industry with the kind of experiences we're going to build. On top of that, we have those affordable OEM devices. Like I have the ARCore developer device for mixed reality, and you could also buy that as a non-developer device. It costs $299, and then the controller on top of that, or you could use a bundle for $399, a headset plus controller. But it's not just ARCore, which licensed the technology, but it's also Lenovo, Dell, HP. Samsung has a very nice one coming out, and also Fujitsu, right? So I'm sure there will be more emerging, but it's already a really good setup with that. And the good thing is, they actually, plugging that in is just one cable, and you have two outputs of that, so it's an USB 3 and also an HDMI, but it's really just one cable that goes out of the HMD. And it's set up so easy. That's all you need to do, pretty much. You don't have to, add any external cameras, any external sensors to your room. Really easy setup. So that's huge. It's really consumer friendly and ready to be used by many, many people, right? So brilliant move by Microsoft. Congrats for doing that. And like I said, I was first also a bit, disappointed that mixed reality is used for those devices, as, we always use the term for the HoloLens, but thinking a bit more about it in a near-term future, hopefully, I hope we will get one device that spans the whole continuum. So I see the vision here, and it makes sense for establishing the terminology right now.